Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Amazing Studios Production Podcast. My name is Peter Scheibner.
And I'm Cliff Baumgartner.
And we have a special guest with us today.
We do.
Brandon?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Want to introduce yourself so our audience knows who you are?
I'm Brennan Clarke. I'm the creative strategist at Amazing Studios. And I'm usually on the other side of the camera / mic. I guess you would say... Would you say I'm the producer of this show?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
As long as I continue to get paid,
okay,
you can be called whatever you'd like.
Okay,
wait,
cool.
You're getting paid for this show?
Oh.
The check's cash, so...
Yeah.
So, Brandon, talk to us about what does a creative strategist do? Give us a little bit of explanation of what your job is, and then we'll kind of roll into the show.
Yeah, man, everyone's always asking me what I do, and that's... makes me uncomfortable. Like, stop asking me. Just take
for those
for
of you
granted
that
that
have
I'm doing
seen
something.
the studio, the short television show that we put out a few weeks ago, there was the ongoing joke was that nobody actually knows what Brandon does.
Yeah, and it's purposely vague. No, so if you were to say like a creative director sort of oversees the entire vision of a project. On the other side of that, a creative strategist would sort of oversee all of the strategy behind a project. So as to where like a creative director or someone in your position would say, okay, like the look and the feel, this is sort of the overarching aesthetic of a project. I would then, on the other side of that, say, okay, well, what's the purpose? Who's the audience we're trying to reach here? Through what channels are we trying to reach them? And that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah, that was good. Well, Brandon, we have an ongoing segment here on the show where we talk about the movies we've been watching. And I'll go ahead and get us started. I had half the studio over to my house last night, and we played Munchkin, which, by the way, if you haven't played Munchkin, it's an awesome game.
It's a blast.
Totally worth your time. And you will get in more arguments, fights, and you'll probably end up hating each other by the end of the night, but you'll have a blast doing it. But afterwards, we watched Lincoln, which I've seen a couple of times now, but for a couple of the guys, it was the first time. Mm-hmm. And that film, every time I see it, I take away something new. Last night, I think it was really kind of down to how un-Spielberg it was, but yet still so Spielberg. It was, Cliff and I were talking afterwards, how it really felt in a lot of ways more like a play. I think watching it, I think it's probably the best biopic I've ever seen. But there's a lot of elements that Spielberg weaves into his films that wasn't in this one. Mm-hmm. You didn't have a lot of the characters that Spielberg would typically have. You didn't have a lot of the long wonders that Spielberg would typically have. Every single shot had movement, but it was different movement. Spielberg typically has these long shots that go from place to place to place, but it was more subtle. It was with slow pushes and pulls, a lot of pushes and pulls, actually. A little bit more symmetry in the composition, especially in the set design. Overall, I mean, I was really, again, just impressed and wowed, and you can't say enough for Daniel Day-Lewis's character. We made the comment afterwards, good actors, you recognize a good actor because every now and then they slip in, you forget that it's them. Daniel Day-Lewis is a different beast altogether. Every now and then you realize it's Daniel Day-Lewis.
Exactly.
And you're cool with that?
I mean, it's incredible that this entire film, he's Lincoln.
Yeah.
You know, when Leonardo DiCaprio is in a film, I see Leonardo DiCaprio, except occasionally I get this moment of, oh my word, he is this character.
Mm-hmm. Right.
With Daniel Day-Lewis, it's the opposite. He is Lincoln. Every now and then, oh, that actually could be a little brush of Daniel Day-Lewis in this character, but it's Lincoln playing Daniel Day-Lewis.
Vice
versa.
I'll let it actually just interject and say, like, I haven't seen Lincoln. You don't have to worry about spoilers. I know how it ends. Like, no shockers
sinks.
at this point. I'm just interjecting really quick, and then I'll let you guys back at it. But it came out at a point, I think, when I was still very much... I don't even know the last Spielberg movie I saw. Did he do, like, Minority Report?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I saw Minority Report. I don't know what other movie he's done that I've seen recently.
Did you see Kingdom of the Crystal Skull? Indiana
Yeah,
Jones.
Did he do that one?
Yeah, that was him.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that actually is...
Yeah.
That's not a good example of Spielberg.
Yeah.
No,
so,
but,
you know,
I mean,
some swinging
recent.
and misses, you
Which-
know, but like that's gonna happen when you put out that many movies, like he does. But I
War
think kind
Horse.
of like Lincoln came out around a time where I was still really enthralled and under the haze or the siren song of like all the superhero movies that were coming out.
Yeah.
And so anything beyond that, I was probably not paying a lot of attention to. And at this point would probably be good for me to go back and watch a movie like Lincoln because I you know, now I crave those kind of movies.
Yeah.
So
Now they're the rarity.
right. So
Yeah. I
but
did
yeah.
not see Lincoln when it came out. However, I am embarrassed to say I did see Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter the same year.
Didn't that came out the same year?
Yeah, same year.
I wonder if that was some market confusion on that one.
Yeah, wait, is this the one where he fights vampires, or this is the one where he's with Tommy Lee Jones?
I
don't
can't.
know.
I can only imagine that there was at least one person who sat through the Spielberg movie going like, "When are the vampires getting here?"
Well, let me add to your list since you haven't seen Spielberg since Minority Report. Here's what you've been missing: Catch Me If You Can.
I saw that.
Okay, so after that, The Terminal.
Didn't see it.
Okay, you got to see that one. That was actually really good. Tom Hanks, War of the Worlds, which is actually like a little fanboy. I love War of the Worlds.
I saw that one too. I guess I've only
wait,
seen like his big like.
Munich.
No.
Okay, I haven't seen that one either. It is on my list.
It's
Indiana
same-
Jones, A
same-
Timeless Call.
By the way, same screenwriter from Lincoln did Munich.
Oh, that's
So
good to know.
I need to see that.
Okay, then Tintin,
I did see that.
Okay.
I enjoyed that.
War Horse.
I forgot
Didn't
he did
see it.
Tintin.
What, you haven't seen War Horse? War Horse was good. I wouldn't say it was excellent, but it was good. And then of course Lincoln, and then coming out this fall, which
I'm so
I am so excited because it looks like they shot the whole thing on a 16mm prime.
Yeah.
Is Bridge of Spies.
That does look good.
Yeah.
That
And
looks
it's
like
Tom
a
Hanks,
return to
so
form
it's-
kind of movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Is it possible it could be bad? I mean, is there really a...
It has every element that
Yeah.
it needs to be a good film, including Tom Hanks and Spielberg and cameras.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
mean,
cameras.
yeah, when you have just like a great director and a great actor, so like an example of like even it not being good, but it's still being better than like almost everything else is Flight with
With Denzel
Zemeckis
Washington.
and
Washington.
and Denzel Washington, and it was like it wasn't for me. It like that movie just wasn't my cup of tea, but it was still like you couldn't deny that it was a great movie, just on the merits of it was so competently directed and so well acted. You just had to be like, all right, well, it's not my thing, but it's still awesome. It's still it was very well done.
Yeah.
So that's my film, was Lincoln. Brent, what do you got?
So there's a few avenues we can take on this. So as anyone in the studio will tell you that I'm an admitted wrestling fan, nerd, I guess is what you'd call me. So
That is somewhat of an understatement.
If you're
Right.
watching on YouTube, that's why we gave him the wrestling mic.
Yes,
Right,
there's a
right.
reason this microphone made the entrance.
and I feel like Mr. Kennedy, which is a reference that no one will probably understand.
Can you give us
I'm
an
with you.
impression?
I'm
Okay,
with you.
if you haven't seen wrestling in the last 10 years, you won't know who Mr. Kennedy is. So
Please have an impression right now.
Mr. Kennedy. Okay.
We just lost half the audience.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
But gained a new audience
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
same time.
Right. But so
If anybody ever wonders if these things are scripted, let this be
Yes.
proof that these are not
yeah.
scripted.
And I
Maybe.
edit these, so and I'm just probably not going to edit this, so it'll be as it is. But yeah, so The Rock was in a version of Hercules, which made its way so quickly to Netflix from being on DVD. And you can probably tell from my voice, I'm still battling a cold. So when you're sick and you just like don't care what you're watching when you're laying on the couch, you put a bad
I
movie
wouldn't
on
know
because
what
you're
that
like, if I
feels
fall
like.
asleep, it won't matter. So I put on the Brett Ratner directed Hercules.
I forgot that was Ratner.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
wow.
way painfully obvious too. I don't want to get be super negative because I mean it wasn't not entertaining, but it was have you? I'm guessing neither one of you guys
No.
have seen this movie. So the trailers sort of like led it to believe it was like, oh, like he battles these mythical beasts, and it's gonna be kind of like Clash of Titans.
It was like supposed to be like the Trials of Hercules.
Right. It's not like that.
Really?
But within all those like creatures you see him battle in the trailer, he does that in the first like 5 minutes, and it's someone telling his stories, saying like, "Oh, Hercules has done this. He's done this. He's done this."
So basically, the whole trailer was a lie.
Right. Because when you get to the movie, it's like, oh, like, is he half god, or is he just like a dude who's got like a really good like resume of, like he's got like a storyteller with him. So
Like the world's most interesting man.
right, it's just like, did he really do these things, or is that just like like the myth around him? And it then kind of plays out more like a kind of a bad ripoff of The Gladiator. There's one of those scenes where he's in front of like an army, and he's like, now is the time to be a man, or one of those like, oh yeah,
Motivation
forever
speech
you'll
time.
be in history for today's battle, and
Uh-huh.
I don't remember who they were fighting, so it didn't resonate with me. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It was a Hercules movie. I mean, what didn't Arnold Schwarzenegger's do it?
I think he did
Schwarzeneggers.
Conan
Yeah,
the
Conan.
Conan,
the
yeah.
Barbarian.
He didn't do a Hercules movie.
I don't think he
feel
did.
like he did.
No. Well, missed opportunity, I guess. But
Oh,
I mean, it
there's
just
still
felt like
time.
one of those. It was just one of, if they did a sequel, I'm sure it would make some amount of money.
The first one didn't make enough money for them
Yeah,
to do a
I mean,
sequel.
probably not. I mean, I don't know, like overseas, it might have made pretty good money.
I don't know. I'll look that up while
Yeah,
I'm talking.
but it seems like one of those movies that wasn't really made for American audiences, really.
No.
I mean, it just,
It was put
it's
the
about
rock in it.
it's about like Greeks and Romans, and everyone's got a British accent. One of those kind of movies. So
Yeah. We love to do that here.
yeah, but on okay, so like that's the negative thing that I kind of half watched. But I did finish watching Wet Hot American Summer's First Day of Camp
Oh, really?
series, which is like 8 episodes, and it was really good. It was they don't take themselves seriously, and you can tell they're having fun, and
That's cool.
a lot of times just watching people have fun making a thing is kind of fun in and of itself, because you can tell that they just like, stupid jokes, and whenever a comedy does a thing where it's like it's kind of like an editing joke or like a camera joke, where it's not really like
Self-aware and
I like those kind of things. So
I've been seeing that pop up on Netflix every time, so I need to check that out.
yeah, I mean, have you seen the movie?
No.
Okay, the movie's good. The movie was made like 15 years ago, and it was like kind of like this cult classic comedy thing.
Like Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper is probably like the biggest name that's in it, and at the time he was like all these people were nobodies.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that's pre-Hangover, so
Yeah. And and everyone was like much younger. But the joke of this is it's 15 years later, and it's a prequel, and everyone looks so much older. In a lot of cases, so much worse. But
I'm curious to see how they.
yeah, but it's
Saw
really
that.
funny. And then, very self-aware humor where they're just like, well, that doesn't make any sense, and they just move right past it. So,
That's cool.
Yeah.
Let me check that out. I'm actually going to go back. I was going to also talk about Lincoln, but I decided to go back to one of my favorite movies that I saw. I was on TV the other night, and it's one of those that whenever it's on, if I'm walking through the house and I see that it's on, I'm going to sit down and finish it every time. And that's Mike Nichols' The Birdcage. Now, if anybody doesn't know, The Birdcage is a movie from the mid-'90s. I think it came out in 96, based on a French film that I'm not going to try to pronounce, and a French play. But it was Robin Williams and Nathan Lane. They play a gay couple who have to, for one night, hide the fact that they're gay in order to impress their son's future in-laws, who are played by, the name's just Diane West and Gene Hackman. But the thing about the movie is it's a really fun comedy. It's really well written. It's a well made movie, and it has a ton of those just moments, entirely quotable moments that me and my family are just always come back to. But the weird thing about it is there was so much talent in this one kind of fringe movie that not a ton of people have seen or not a ton of people know about. It did well at the time, but it's not one you hear about a lot today. But the thing that really got me this time that I watched it that I didn't realize until just now was that the DP was a young Emmanuel Lubezki, the Oscar-winning DP for Gravity and Birdman,
wow.
and probably about to win his third Oscar for The Revenant, if the trailers are any indication. He shot that movie in the mid-'90s, and it's funny, you can tell because it opens with about a 5-minute long one-shot.
Oh wow!
Which is kind of one of his, one of the things he's known for now.
Mm-hmm. And now like Birdcage, Birdman, Gravity,
exactly,
it's all like air.
Children of Men, he did that too, didn't he?
Children of Men, exactly. Yeah, he keeps going back to the bird well. He's going up every time.
Yeah, maybe I'll do the. Did he do the bird? The Big Bird bio
the Big Bird.
Man on Wire.
Yeah. Or he's just doing the live action version of Up next. He's just going to keep going into the sky.
Tragically, I'd spend my money to see that.
Well, if only if it was the first 15 minutes, though. But yeah, it's a wonderful movie. It's hilarious. It has a great heart, and it's also one of the first movies of its kind that it featured openly gay characters that weren't. It was not a gay movie. It was a movie about people who happened to be gay.
Yeah.
And it was beautifully done in that sense that they just treat people as people, which I know that sounds now like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Back in the mid-'90s in a movie, that was not really the thing to do.
I mean, it's kind of more in now to not define somebody by their sexuality, but back then that wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about like the fringe actors or the people the supporting cast, and like Hank Azaria was great in that.
Hank Azaria.
And, he's a good character actor just because he can pull off a new voice.
He's
or anything
amazing
like
in that
but
movie.
It was still like a little because I caught like the last 30 minutes of it the other day.
Same time.
And it is kind of weird though, like. Because it was different for the time, but you can still see that but it was a '90s movie.
Oh, absolutely.
And everybody was a little campy.
Yeah.
Well,
especially that third act.
And
the entire third act is camp
Nathan
through
Lane's a little like
roof.
Flamboyant. It is kind of like way over. I think if they made it now, it would have been toned down a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
which is ironic considering they put Robin Williams in it in the part of the pun, the straight man role.
Yeah,
he has to play the more refined, like not as openly flamboyant as his husband. And it was also Nathan Lane's Hollywood breakout after being on Broadway for years and years and years.
Because then after that he did like Producers.
Yeah, right. And now he's basically plays the same character on Modern Family.
Well, no, was the Birdcage before or after? Miss Doubtfire.
After.
Doubtfire. Okay.
It was after,
but it was weird that he kind of.
It was just pre Good Will Hunting.
Yeah.
Good Will Hunting, I think, was 97. This was 96.
By the time Good Will Hunting came around, he was probably like, I need a break from like a cross-dressing movie.
Yeah, exactly.
I need this just. To
well,
be,
that's why he was originally cast as Albert. And he said after it was originally going to be, this would have been amazing. Robin Williams as Albert, and Robin Williams' character was going to be played by Steve Martin.
Oh.
Which would have been, yeah.
That probably would have been a much better movie. I mean, nothing against Nathan Lane, but I mean, like Steve Martin.
Yeah, it would have been unbelievable.
You got to make that trade.
But when Martin dropped out due to scheduling, Robin Williams said, "Look, I don't want to keep playing the same character over and over. I want to challenge." So they had him kind of rein it in. And I think it was really brilliant in the end because you watch Robin Williams having to just sit there and kind of play it straight and not go down the tangents he normally would. Yeah. And, of course, a year later, we would see that in Good Will Hunting, and he'd go on to win an Oscar for it. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty amazing.
They probably could have. I have nothing against Nathan Lane. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say that.
You're just trash-talking Nathan Lane this episode.
But I'm just, I'm just thinking of ways to, like, replace him in this movie. Martin Short would have been a really good replacement, I think.
Yeah.
But now I kind of almost want to see a version of it where Gene Hackman plays one of the gay guys and Martin Short plays the cross-dressing gay character, but that's a whole nother movie now. But
now we're making fan fiction.
Yeah, but
which is kind of what Brennan does.
Yeah. As good as it was, as well as it was cast, and you said like how it sort of broke some barriers. it did sort of like still lean on that trope of like the staunch, like guy father character.
Right.
It's like my paradigm won't shift.
Right.
Like I still think this is weird, And even like I always find it interesting that character trope that they put in a movie where like oftentimes you'll see it like in a movie where there's like a villain and then a villain's assistant, and at the end the villain's assistant is like looks around is like, yeah, I can get on board, and like the villain like will look over and be like, oh, well, I'm not changing my ways,
you traitor.
And it kind of felt like that, where like the mom was like, well, maybe we can accept it, and like he was still like, no, not me. And I don't know, I find that always like an interesting thing where like the sidekick or the assistant will be like, well, maybe we can change.
I did think it was brilliant though, the way they turned it on its ear, where the movie's about that clash between being the staunch and not changing your mind and everything else. And the problem in the whole second half of the movie is not that Gene Hackman can't deal with these people who are too flamboyant. It's that he still, as cleaned up as they are, thinks they're not traditional enough, which I thought was kind of an interesting way to kind of flip it on its head, in that no matter what, he still is going to have a problem with these people because of, kind of how they live.
Wasn't he like a senator or something?
Yeah, he's a senator and the like president of the Coalition for Moral Order.
Yeah.
And the other guy dies, and it's really ham-fisted in there in the first act. Yeah. But they set up the set piece as well to where that's really what you remember.
Yeah.
But it's a fun movie.
So we probably need to move into what we're actually here to talk about today.
We're doing a thing.
That's right, 20 minutes into the episode. So today we brought Brandon on because we want to talk as artists. One of the struggles that we have is where to put our media, where to put our art. There's Vimeo, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
Everything.
Basically, we want to have a conversation about different platforms, what media works there, what media doesn't work there, and where should my stuff live.
Right. And yeah, this is, it's interesting because almost every facet of the web now will accept video. It's like the thing. And rightly so. It's just the nature of how we prefer to be entertained as people. We went from the nightly newspaper, reading the Evening Post, to watching the nightly news, to scrolling through our Twitter feed. And now we can actually like watch things in Twitter. So it's just a natural progression of that kind of stuff. But it just kind of depends. If we just want to dive right into it, it kind of depends on what you're putting or what your video is to where you should put it, right? Sometimes there can be a scattershot approach to it. Because, used to, there was a time, way back in 2008, when YouTube ruled the land of video, where, if you wanted to show your video to anybody or share it with anybody, YouTube was pretty much the only place to put it. And back then it was, it was mainly crudely produced. Produce would maybe be too generous of a word, but just, it shot on your camcorder or whatever. And of course, like, you guys have covered this already, but, you had like to capture footage, and it was not easy to put video online.
This is the vlog days.
Yeah. And like, this isn't even that long ago. This is like I said, like 2008, 2009, it was still like not that easy to throw stuff up online.
The wild west of video.
Yeah. And I would say like around like 2010, 2011 is when it just started becoming more accessible. Things started becoming more digital. Smartphones started to become smarter. Cameras started to get better. And with that, it just became easier to put stuff online. I'm sort of diverging away from it being YouTube, but YouTube went from being sort of like just, it just exploded to the point to where like everybody's throwing stuff on YouTube. And that's when YouTube started, shortly there around, they were acquired by Google. They sort of got cleaned up a little bit. It wasn't such a copyright free for all where, people were just throwing up like, my best, my favorite Hitchcock scenes put to the music of The Killers,
Right.
things that no one owned, they were just throwing up there. They started to rein that in a little bit, and it became a little bit more discerning. But yeah, I mean, and then they started. Google took it over, and that's when Google was like, well, we want to know everything about video. So that's when analytics started becoming a big deal. Watch time became important. So I mean, it just keeps evolving from there. Recently Facebook's become a player in the whole video thing. And then there's like Vimeo, which is like on the complete other end of what YouTube's doing. It's clean, no ads. So yeah, I mean, it just sort of, I don't know the best way to go about sort of like.
Yeah, so let's kind of, let us kind of give you some scenarios of different people and where you think maybe the best home. Okay. So I think a large part of our audience is probably consisting of young filmmakers who have a couple of things. They're going to have some portfolio pieces. They're going to have a short film that they produced with some friends, and they're looking for their big break. So for that filmmaker who's really looking to mostly use it as a portfolio platform to send out, where would you steer them towards?
Well, I mean, immediately I start thinking in terms of sort of like how you're going to breadcrumb that thing or how you're going to market it, right? So, if you've got a short film and it's high quality, something
you're proud of.
Exactly. I mean, I think Vimeo is always going to be the best way to go. It's clean, it's ad free. I think just being on Vimeo, I think people subconsciously take those videos more seriously. Mm-hmm. They're less likely to click away from them because YouTube. As soon as you go to YouTube, it's almost like YouTube doesn't want you to watch the thing you're watching, because as soon as you go to it there's just like a million other things crowded around it for you to click away, to divert your attention. Vimeo's not like that. It's clean, it's just got, the play bar and then maybe some sharing options up in the top right corner. But it's not this crazy sort of attention deficit sort of zone that YouTube's created. So yeah, I mean, I would say for portfolio pieces or short films or anything that's like you really want attention focused on for any extended period of time, I'd say Vimeo is the right way to go about that. But if you're looking at it from a social standpoint, if you want to promote that short film with, say, like a teaser or a trailer or something like that, well then if that thing's going to be 30 seconds to a minute, YouTube's probably your better option. Mm-hmm. And Facebook, with their video player as well. YouTube and Facebook work really well in terms of sort of like video marketing and advertising and that sort of stuff. Like we said, Vimeo is more of like an artistic sort of area. Although, are you guys familiar with Dribbble at all?
No.
Okay, so Dribbble is sort of like an invite-only design site.
Now I want in.
Yeah, I mean it's
like the Final Clubs.
It's like what?
It's like the Final Clubs.
Yeah, I mean,
social network.
I mean, it's kind of like, it's not terribly hard to get invited. I mean, you just basically have to know a designer that's on there. But there's been articles about how Dribbble has sort of created this this sameness is being created within its little ecosystem, because it's only designers showing designer stuff, and everyone's real like, oh, that's great, that's good, I like that. And there's not a whole lot of critique going on. I kind of feel like with Vimeo and Vimeo's staff picks, it's sort of falling into that zone of like a lot of people going for that like Philip Bloom type look of that nice faded look of like the
film. I feel
film.
it's either Philip Bloom or avant-garde on the staff picks.
Right, and but they all sort of like feel kind of samey, mm-hmm. Similar.
There is a Vimeo look.
Yeah,
certainly.
And look, don't get me wrong, I like it. You know what I mean? I try to emulate it when I do stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good look, but it does sort of breed some sameness.
Well,
But
it's you have to recognize that particular look, that style is something that we appreciate, but there's really nobody outside of our circle who does. That's why you don't see that crossover into commercial work. That's why you don't see a crossover into feature film production or anything that goes through Hollywood, because it stands out to artists. It's kind of, and I think to an extent, what you see on the Vimeo staff picks and whatnot, to my mind, it's almost art for the artists.
Right.
But it's no longer art for the masses.
Well, I mean, I would say that there has been in recent years, and it's certainly rare, but there has been some bleed of that style into things. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is like the Chrysler Super Bowl ads. Feel like they would be at home on Vimeo. They don't feel like another ad. And you see that a lot. Gatorade has some programs now that are going to more of that, like you said, muted, faded, a little bit slower.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. It is kind of starting to bleed out, I feel like.
Yeah, I often think of that that one ad that Acura did, like made by humans, or
Oh yeah.
you know
Yeah,
what
that
I'm
was a
talking
good
about.
ad.
I think Mullen did it, but it has kind of that look to it too, where it's like both in just its actual look, but then also in its tone and music. It kind of felt like a Vimeo staff pick, sort of.
Well, another thing, and I know the audience may be interested in, and this is always the challenge with anything like this, is if you have a piece of content out there like a short film or even something, a feature film or a longer piece that you want to monetize. I know that opens a whole new door to struggles, and I'm interested in what you think about things like Vimeo's on-demand service they have now, where their premium service where you can actually put something out there, kind of like iTunes, and have people pay for it and download it, versus YouTube's models and stuff like that.
Right, and I mean, I think Vimeo is probably the best thing going for independent artists. I would say, as far as like how they monetize things, what Vimeo's not great at is it's not a social network per se.
It's not popular.
Right. And so like YouTube and Facebook, what they've got going for it is they've got a built-in audience. It's a social network. Like YouTube is jam-packed full of ads, but there's also a community of people on YouTube actively searching for things. Outside of people in our industry, you probably wouldn't go to Vimeo and click into the search bar and look for anything. And even when we do that, we probably are only like typing in like cameras or color grades or something to that effect. We're not really like looking for like.
We're not looking to be entertained.
Right, and we're not looking for information. Like YouTube,
We're not going to type in cute kittens.
Right, or if I need to change my brakes or something and I think I can do it on my own, I'll go to YouTube and I'll be like, well, how do you change the brakes on this car? Okay, I'll see, and then I'll watch that tutorial and then I'll be like, okay, yeah, I can probably do
I did the
that.
same thing with cameras. How do I change the settings on this camera?
Right,
I'm going to find that on YouTube. I'm probably not even going to bother looking on Vimeo.
Right, and so and the thing about like YouTube's got that audience and they've got that sort of they've got the audience coming to the site to search, but then you've also got the community that's already there who are of creators and viewership and that sort of thing. So as far as like YouTube goes with its ad structure, it's a little different. I mean, and also it's sort of, how do you want to present your product? I mean, do you want to start your video out with a pre-roll ad, or do you, if it's a short film and it's going 15 minutes, do you want to have a break in the middle with an ad? Probably not, because you want people to watch it the whole way through. I would say pre-roll ads are better suited for people that have, for lack of a better term, that viral desire, or they're trying to produce sort of in a YouTuber sort of way.
Yeah.
So that kind of leads you to the next question, which is, let's say I'm trying to get my stuff to go viral. I've got a great idea for a sketch, and I think it can go viral. Where should I be putting that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say honestly, well, wanting something to go viral is I think
It's kind of like wanting to win the lottery.
exactly. I mean, there are formulas to it. Often,
And to be fair, I mean, it can be done. I've had a couple of videos go viral.
right, and often it's just sort of not luck, but it's sometimes it's just sort of like it just works for just because it was the right thing at the right time. And then sometimes there are structures around it to where it's like, well, you know, if you're having a PR company sort of like pump your video out to Mashable and that sort of stuff, and you know, you're having these like heavily trafficked. Is that
Heavily
right?
trafficked.
Traffic.
Okay.
Yes.
That is the word.
Trafficked.
Trafficked.
I have to admit, traffic sounds
with
better
words.
than trafficked.
Probably not the right guy to have on a podcast. But you know, pumped out to sites like Mashable, where you're gonna get a lot of clicks, you're gonna get a lot of eyes on it. You know, so sometimes there's you know, there is a formula, and sometimes it just happens to work. But when you have that type of video, you know, which is, I guess, for lack of a better term, a social video, your two best options are YouTube and Facebook. Now, YouTube works for the same reasons we were talking earlier. You have the search function, and you have a community there that, you know, both is looking for entertainment, and also they come to YouTube knowing they want to find stuff like that. Stop tapping. Okay. You know, and then you have Facebook, which is, you know, it's a social network, and you've got your audience, you've got people already there waiting for, you know, they're just watching their feed. And in Facebook, you can just jam your video straight into their feed. And so you're getting eyes on it where, you know, as to where someone has to go to YouTube and search for a thing on YouTube. Or go to YouTube and, like, you know, look at their subscriptions. In Facebook, it's presented to you. It's like, here, watch this thing. So, you know, and of course, like, there's some sort of vagaries about, you know, viewership on Facebook versus YouTube. You know, YouTube counts a view after more seconds than Facebook does. Facebook's numbers, you know, sound incredible right now because you're like, oh man, like 12,000 views. That's great. But it's like the average view time is like 20 seconds. So it's not really, it's a little,
It's a little misleading.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, right now there's some games being played by Facebook just because, you know, they want that YouTube traffic. They want, you know, people that are on YouTube to sort of be like, oh, I can get my videos on Facebook. So, but for those two reasons, you know, if you've got a social video that you think is going to sort of set the internet on fire, those are the places to put it.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And I think you brought up an interesting point, too. One thing that a lot of people don't understand, a lot of times when clients come to a company like us and they want a video that they want to be like a viral marketing kind of thing, a lot of people don't understand these days the amount of money that goes into making a video go viral.
Right.
It
right.
is not as simple as throwing it on YouTube. And
it's going to go viral.
Right.
Especially if it's like a marketed, you know, piece of advertising.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you know, list off in your, you know, the top 5 viral videos that you can think of. You know, you got Double Rainbow, Charlie Bit My Finger,
History of
Evolution
Dance.
Yeah, I mean, you know, but in most cases, these are just things that happened, right? I mean, you know, they're things that people caught on camera, or, you know, they're very rarely like advertising for a thing. Mm-hmm. Every now and then they'll be advertising a thing. And we still don't know because, you know, it takes years to sort of get the data from a, you know, a video. Like, did it work? Did it not work? You know,
I saw an interesting stat a couple years ago when I was putting a film out that went viral. 1 in 1 million films will ever get to 100,000 views.
Yeah.
1 in 25 million videos will get to 1 million views. I mean, it is because YouTube is such a big ocean.
It's so saturated
of content.
Yeah.
Unless there's only a couple ways you can guarantee something's going to go viral. You can put a ton of money behind it, and I mean a ton of money behind it, or you're going to have a built-in audience.
Right.
And so if you want that built-in audience, you're going to go to a YouTuber who already has that audience and say, hey, I want you to do this for me.
Which is, for example, where Red and Link really excel right now.
They do a great job. They've done it for Tiger Direct and folks like that, where they'll go and they'll put together a song about. They did it for Wendy's, I think.
Yeah, that Wendy's ad was actually really good.
It was.
And their McDonald's, the stop-motion McDonald's, was genius.
But that video, if you took that exact same video, took those 2 guys out of it, put new 2 guys in, even maybe 2 guys who are a little bit better than they are, the video wouldn't have gone anywhere. It would have had 1,000 views and petered out on YouTube because it didn't have an audience. Just because something is good does not mean it will ever be seen. Just because something could be absolutely incredible. Spielberg, under a different name, could put a video out on YouTube and nobody would see it.
Right.
Quality of content does not make it good. My most popular film, In My Seat, which I have out on YouTube, it succeeded not because it was phenomenal. It's good. It's not phenomenal. It succeeded because I put it out a week before the 10th anniversary of September 11th, and it's a September 11th story. And so I got everybody who saw it said, September 11th is coming. It's the 10th anniversary. I'm going to share this. And it got shared like crazy because people felt a connection to it because of when it was released.
Yeah.
Halloween videos always see a spike every year. Thriller sees a spike every year because it's connected to Halloween. Christmas ads see a spike every year because they're connected to Christmas. You have to create content that actually is related to something going on in society if you want it to just on its own go viral. And that's incredibly hard to do.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's kind of where strategy comes in. I mean, that's part and parcel of what I try to do. I mean, it's sort of
that's
saying,
your
like,
job.
Yeah, that's my. There we go. We finally got to it. That's what I do here. I figure out when the videos go out. Yeah, but no, a lot of that is like having your finger on the pulse and saying like, okay, this thing, this event's coming around, or this is a thing that's trending in this direction. We should jump on that, or we should make a comment about it. And it doesn't always work. Sometimes it does, sometimes it does. I mean, that's a tricky thing whenever you talk about like video marketing or advertising. Is like people are fickle. If they feel like you're trying to exploit a thing, it can have an adverse reaction.
Yep.
And we see that every year with like Labor Day or something like that, or with stuff like 9/11. Every year. Advertisers they don't understand, like, just don't say anything on Twitter that day.
Yeah.
But instead they're gonna like post an image that everybody's gonna be like, wow, that was really insensitive.
Right, and that always confuses me, and I know I'm not the first to say this, but I don't understand why they think that somebody's going, oh, it's 9/11, I better see what Arby's said.
Yeah.
Like, you don't
No one
have to
cares.
comment. Yeah, you can just leave it alone.
Yeah,
It's okay.
No one will get mad if Walmart doesn't tweet on 9/11, but people will get mad if Walmart tweets the wrong thing on 9/11.
Right.
So you're better just not say anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Or just
don't
to say
tweet
something.
special savings on September 11th.
Yeah.
To remember those
You're
who
not
have
going to
fallen.
get 9% off.
Right.
11 items today.
Yeah.
Which is,
By the way, that's horrible marketing.
That would be
strategy.
the worst sale ever.
Right.
Yes.
So.
It's also 9% off. Just as a sale, it's not good. Much
it's not
less
a
the
good sale.
insensitive timing.
Well, but see, that's the thing though. If it's a high ticket item,
Yeah.
it's a good So if you're
That's
buying
Black
like a big
Friday,
TV,
9% off
yeah.
of this $30,000 TV.
But at that point, they would just tell you how like the dollar amount because
Yeah.
it sounds more impressive.
Yeah, it sounds way more impressive.
That's
Instead of
marketing
$30 million, now it's $29.99.
That TV is getting more expensive every time you talk about it. Peter.
It is.
That is.
And that concludes this episode of TV Talk. Thanks for.
What is it, like a 40K resolution? If it's a
this
$30 million television?
the TV of my dreams, I can't even describe it. It's huge, it's awesome, and it's so sharp it hurts your eyes.
Yeah.
Which
Are we getting
honestly, I remember when HD came out, slight tangent. And I remember people saying, oh, when I look at it, it hurts my eyes. It's so sharp. It's so crisp. I just couldn't look at that. Now everybody has an HD TV in their home. Now I feel like everyone's saying, oh, 4K, it's so sharp. I can't look at it. It hurts my eyes. How long until 4K is so normal and it's something else that hurts our eyes?
I think it has to do with the size of the screen. I think if I'm watching 4K, if I were watching it on a big screen, I'd be okay with it. It's whenever I'm trying to watch it like on a YouTube window, and it just feels like so like the composition or I don't know what it is, just feels so crammed.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's so much detail in such a little space that's what sort of like drives me crazy.
And at the same time, screens are getting better. So we're not used to the quality of our screens. I remember the first time I looked at a Retina iPhone, I was just like, what am I seeing? Because I wasn't used to actually seeing that much detail.
Yep. Well, we've gone quite long enough today.
Yes.
So
Yeah, and
probably
I
need to
really don't
wrap
even
up.
think I told you anything. So that's,
But
No,
we
this
figured
was-
out what you do.
this was helpful.
That's the most important part. We
Brandon,
figured
thank
out
you
what
for
do.
joining us.
Yes, absolutely.
And obviously, if you want to learn more about Brandon, check out Amazing Studios site. He's got a lot of good tips, and you can read the blog. He's got a lot of good information out there that you can follow up on. As always, you can always follow Cliff on Twitter, myself on Instagram. Cliff,
I'm at Cliff Umberger.
at Cliff Umberger. I'm at Peter the Director on Instagram.
And by the way, we didn't mention this ahead of the show. Brandon is also one of the minds behind Bad Doodles.
oh yes,
Oh, yes.
baddoodles.com. Don't forget.
If you haven't seen
Everyone check it out.
if you haven't seen the commercial for that, you owe it to yourself.
Yes. So check that out. That's going to be same channel as this podcast on YouTube, which you
Yes.
can subscribe. It's an AMZG TV on YouTube. Follow us there. You can also follow us on the podcast on the iTunes store if you want to listen to this in your car. It's great for the community. That's when I listen to it. Which, ironically enough, I have started listening to it because I'm actually feeling a little entertained and informed when I listen to this.
That is a lesson in narcissism.
That is a lesson in narcissism. I'm basically Hitler.
Well, I mean, it's no different than a football team watching game tape.
That's
You
true.
know, you gotta learn
That's
how to
basically
get
what
better.
I'm doing. I'm watching game tape.
Yeah.
watch
I
it.
can't watch this on YouTube though. Seeing myself is
no,
too weird.
No,
Yeah.
no, never.
I think I saw half an episode.
Yeah. Sorry, you're doing all that work, Brandon. And,
That's fine. It's fine.
For those of
I
you
I probably
watching on
won't-
YouTube, good
I'm
on
going
you.
to cringe as I have to edit this. So.
Oh, yeah.
I have to
Oh,
hear
you poor
myself
guy.
talk, which is the worst.
Yeah.
My voice is just weird. And I don't feel like it fits my face. So it's going to be doubly weird having to edit this and hear my voice and see my face making this voice.
Yeah,
So,
well, good luck with that.
yeah.
Well, folks, this has been episode 6 of the Production Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yep, and until next time, remember to craft a story worth hearing.